West Lakeland CIC is a knowledge sharing hub for farmers within our community to come together and navigate the future of farming, all the while celebrating and sustaining the traditional nature-friendly farming techniques that work in the uplands like this. West Lakeland CIC have run this project. We've been talking to lots of farmers who graze on the common. We've also worked with experts from the Woodland Trust, the Environment Agency, obviously the Rivers Trust did the surveys, and we've also got People Plant Trees who have organised the volunteers. It's really important for us that we've got in all these experts so we do it right. That the farmers have agreed to do this voluntary. They don't get any funding for this. They've agreed to do this because they want to protect the landscape that they farm on.
75% of land in the UK is farmland, and farmers are very aware of sort of the climate crisis and the role that they play in adapting that. So therefore partnerships like this are vital because, you know, we're planting trees by a river which has multiple benefits for wildlife, but at the same time it's not having a negative impact on the farming practices that have been practiced here for generations. The National Trust has very ambitious goals for how it wants to restore nature and, you know, create thriving landscapes for people and wildlife, but we cannot achieve that without working with individual landowners and our tenant farmers and the local community, because if you can get all those people on side, then we're going to achieve so much more.
So this has been a wonderful opportunity for our pupils to get beyond the school grounds to do something for the community. They understand that farmers are actually working within the communities, within this farming landscape, to make it a better place for nature as well as farming. Farming is the bedrock of communities. Yes, they're food producers, and it's fundamental for people to understand that, and by bringing these kids up here, they will remember this and they will recognise that they were working with farmers to make this a place that's going to be habitat rich.
This is on Wormgill on Stockdale Moor, which is part of our common grazing. We are an upland farm and we have Herdwick sheep and Swaledale sheep that come out on the fell and hefted on this area. We're trying to help with people's understanding of what type of farming happens in this area. So it's a very much natural, low intensive farming system. So basically we are working with the environment. The sheep are hefted, it's part of the culture, the heritage of this area. It's part of the maintaining the conditions on the natural resources that we have. We want to kind of try and encourage people to have a greater understanding of what's happening up here and work with the other organisations like the Environment Agency, the Rivers Trust. So we're trying to ensure that we can carry on this type of farming for the public, for public goods, for the farming communities, etc., so that it can continue.
From this year, we're going to be collecting data on 100 different points on the fell of the fauna and flora and the peak depth. So all that's over a 3-year cycle, different points. So we are collecting data about the commons.
And I think it's also trying to establish what you have already. So, it's evidence of what's already there. And so then it can be measured in future. But until we map what's already existing, then we haven't really got a starting point. You need to keep that management system so that it works properly. And so it's that understanding about, isn't it, about the gathers and how it all works and the stocking ratios, etc. Because too much interference or lack of knowledge or lack of experience can really damage it. If the sheep aren't put back on the fell, the hefting's lost, and then all of that, generational thing, the cultural bit of it disappears, and actually that will affect how these fells will be for the future.
The younger generation are wanting to farm upland sheep, but they just need the opportunity.
Woodland planting, we're talking 50, 100 years down the line. We're not talking, it's not going to be measurable necessarily in 5 years or 10 years or whenever the scheme has finished and then there's a different scheme and something else comes in. So I think it's that long-term planning and investment in people's input into it, and also people's, like you say, knowledge of understanding of how it all fits together in those ecosystems as well.
we've been doing soil biology samples for a while now, and we've done them on farm and on the fell. So yeah, we're just kind of seeing what we've got at the moment as a baseline. We want real scientific evidence of what's going on under the ground, so that can help with the choices that farmers and landowners are making, so we can really show that there's a reason why we farm this way and it really isn't damaging to the environment and there are good things happening.
This is a new partner for us, West Lakeland CIC, and crucially it's actually a really grassroots organisation. It's come from the farming community and it's made up of the farming community, and for us that's really important as the Environment Agency, because it means we can connect with people who are living and working in this space, in this environment. They know it really well, they know what works and what doesn't, and that's really important for us when it comes to making decisions about what we need to do to improve the water environment and the floodplain next to it, that we actually have to bear in mind and work with people to collaborate on coming up with the best solutions. So we're not just all about environmental outcomes, we're very much about social outcomes, and particularly in West Cumbria here, it's really important to connect the people who are living and working here and the families and the next generation, crucially. So the children of today are going to be the ones that are responsible for protecting the environment of the future. So we need to give them the best chance we can by getting them out here in this green space, getting them used to getting their hands dirty, using tools, and then they can come back in 10 years' time and see the fruits of their labour and what they've created. So today was fantastic to have school children in this, what is quite a remote and wild place in Cumbria. It's so impressive that they took the time to get out of the classroom, and that's that's because their teachers are really passionate about this, which is fantastic. Probably one of the best examples I've seen where of the multiple partners that are involved in this. So we've got agencies like ourselves, and we've consulted with Natural England on planting in the right place, being sensitive to the habitats that already exist here. This is National Trust land. This is common land, but it's National Trust land, and the National Trust have been fantastic in supporting this from a labour point of view. They know what they're doing when it comes to countryside management. This project is probably as much about relationships as it is about the actual environmental and outcomes.
So when everyone arrived here today, they got an amazing speech from the farmers and they explained why they were doing this. So everyone leaves today having planted a tree with an understanding of how the land's managed around them. Nobody's dragging their feet, it's all like everyone's happy to be here and do it, which is like, it's essential to this, to make this sort of project work.
But of course it's one thing the farmer's saying, yes, I've seen red-legged grouse or hen harriers or whatever. It's something else to say, well actually here's a picture of them in the environment, and that's really what we're trying to capture and gather that evidence, that those species are here.
A lot of people, I think, are now looking to the CIC for advice, and I think it's opened people's eyes a bit more to what the possibilities are. We need to look at other methods of keeping these farms financially stable as well as sustainable environmentally.
But yeah, there needs to be some trust in the farmer knowledge of the land and the way that it's farmed, because there's a reason it's been farmed like this for a long time and nobody's really asking that question, why? And one of the things the CIC has been doing is trying to gather that data of, with the soil sampling and things. We've been saying, okay, with this management system, this is the data that we've gathered. This is how it's affecting things like the soil, the fell, the habitats that are here, and the habitats we've got, the livestock we've got. The reason we're farming is having this effect on everything. What we're doing is good up here, and there's a reason why it works. Everyone's knowledge makes a difference. The hope from the CIC was that we could create a bespoke scheme or plan that would help individual farms to create something that fits your land and the way you farm, and benefits your farm business individually. That model of bringing people together and working something out together from a grassroots level, that's what needs to be duplicated in other areas.
We're producing food for very little money, but we're doing a job at the same time. We're maintaining the Lake District fells with the herdwicks, has been maintained for hundreds of years. Yeah, well, a farmer would be bankrupt if he had to pay £20–30 an hour, which most craftsmen are on. They can't afford to do this. That's why all ours is done in-house, really. They need to be maintained. If not, you're just going to end up with an eyesore. Yeah, and sheep just ranched, and they're good shelter. Yeah, lambing time, the sheep sit behind the walls, the lamb behind the walls. When the rain's coming up that lake sideways, the sheep are behind the walls sheltering, you know. So they're needed, yeah.
So we're here at Mitchell's Livestock Auction. It's a prime auction today, and this specific sale is a sale for the Stan Edmondson Memorial Trophy, and basically the auction's important for all different sorts of reasons, but it dictates the price of what you're going to get, and it's very good for people's mental well-being, if I'm honest. People come here and have a crack and socialise, which is a big part of some people's weekly diary, like.
It's a nice day for the Herdwick farmers of the county to bring some of our best stock to put in front of a judge.
But then he comes back home and he's got a smile, so at the end of the day that keeps the roof off our head and the kids happy and the bills paid.
As hill farmers, if you do your job right, you benefit from a good spring trade.
Our work with the West Lake CIC has been really important because it's been working on the ground with local farmers and it's been supporting multiple themes across the board. So we've done a lot on climate, nature and the people that are working in this landscape.
What the West Lake CIC are demonstrating from their learning is that there are ways that farmers can ready themselves for the future, baseline the habitats and species on their own farm, tap into other sources of funding and take control of the situation.
Yeah, I think it's so important to note that you meet people like Will, and Will has been born and bred around here. He knows his land better than anyone else is going to. We need to listen to his opinions, listen to his thoughts and what he knows about the landscape and shape that. There's no point coming in with a preconceived idea because Will will know, no, that won't work. I've got this kind of bird here, I've got this kind of habitat here. He knows his land best and we really need to make sure that we're listening to him and other farmers that know the landscape and deliver things that suit them.
Yeah, and recognise that farmers are best placed to tackle nature crises, climate crises, if we give them the means to do that and they have the mechanism to do that. So that's where us as farming officers feel that FIPL has allowed those conversations, tapping into those other networks, other organisations across the Lake District and beyond, other farmer groups can learn from this, and we'd like to see this type of approach replicated in all of the valleys in the lakes. The primary role of the farmer, which is food production, which Eliza touched on, we have to recognise that as part of the jigsaw. It can't just be nature or climate or people, it has to be all of it together. And the collaborative approach that we would like to see more of in the lakes, where organisations are working for the same goal, be that nature or climate or culture or heritage, all these things, it's more of a unified effort rather than individual effort.
The West Lake CIC are doing well because they are getting these baselines in place and getting the evidence to support their views and sort of arming themselves with what they need to go forward.
We're clearing this site in order to create what we've called a tree repository. It's not a tree nursery per se, but it's somewhere where farmers and local people can bring trees to grow that then can be placed back out into the environment locally. We've got the young farmers involved going out collecting seeds, collecting saplings that we will then bring on. We've also got an ambition to try and grow some of the rarer trees that it's difficult to source. We're not trying to be a commercial nursery, but things like black poplar and juniper, we hope that we might be able to grow here that then it can go back out onto the fells. So we're hoping to nurture trees from local areas that we can put back into the local areas.
I was asked by Will Rawlings and the team of the West Lakeland CIC to see if I could provide some advice on woodland management, woodland creation, and in fact all things trees, and to see if woodlands and trees can actually help the sort of hill farmers in this area. It's going to be about smaller scale woodland creation. We're in the national park, it's a World Heritage Site. It's got to fit the landscape, it's got to fit the ecology and the habitats. And it'll be almost certainly about native woodland being sort of keyholed into these little gaps and extending what's here, there, and making that stronger and more resilient. That is the future. So it's farm by farm, site by site, and that is essential. Especially when you're changing what you're doing and having to look for new options, the ability to talk to each other and discuss that and feel as though you're part of it, and you're not making a choice on your own. I think that's really quite powerful, and I think that probably in the end will probably be one of the great strengths of this the partnership that's set up. I think it's a fabulous thing, and yeah, great to see. It's not something that's going to be sorted with a 10-year scheme, because it's a long-term commitment for everybody really. It's for the farm, for the public, for the taxpayer. There has to be that continuity of support and respect. Keep it real, make sure it's going to work, make sure it's robust, and I think that's the sort of ethos certainly when I'm advising clients or taking a project forward. That's what we want to see.
So primarily we are a farming family, but we have put in a couple of glamping pods because when it came to COVID time, we looked at what we'd got, and we were very lucky that we had the space, and we said, why don't we share it? So we put a couple of glamping pods in. We like to combine this with agritourism. When the people come for the holidays, we take them around the farm. We like to show them what we're doing. They join in with the jobs that we're doing on the farm at the time. So if we're scanning the sheep, or if we're marking the sheep, or anything like that, anything that they can join in with, they like to come down and see what we're doing. We're especially busy at lambing time because people want to come and see the lambing. And then on top of that, we run school visits. So we do around about 40 school visits a year. They're just a fantastic thing to do. The kids get so much out of them. Knowledge is respect, and we want the kids to know what we do properly, join in with whatever we're doing on the farm at the time. We show them a little bit about where their food comes from, the environment that we are working, and the environment that we are looking after. Farming's definitely a community. You do it it's a lifestyle, it's not a job. And everybody that's in it is a community. And with the West Lakeland CIC, there's been a lot of peer-on-peer learning, which has been absolutely fantastic. It ranges, doesn't it, right the way from Wasdale up to the top of Kinneyside with all the commoners and some of the lowland farms around. And what we can share amongst ourselves is absolutely phenomenal. The CIC, when they set it up, it was very much a farmer-led project. They wanted it from the bottom up because these guys know they've worked them fells for years and they know how they work, they know what they can do. But with the CIC, there's 42 farms that are actively involved in the CIC. One farmer on his own probably can't make a massive difference, but if we can all stick together, all make that community, and that community can make the difference, hopefully. So we've been working with the Carbon Farm Toolkit to do the soil samples up on the fells, and it's been really, really interesting to see what's coming back, because we can tell them what's there, but when the evidence is there in black and white, it's hitting home. We use Landsat to go around and make a baseline habitat for everybody, all the farms that were in the CIC, so that we can, one, see what they actually have, and two, when they make the improvements, you can show that they're there and that they have made the improvements. And then when it comes to the new SFIs and things like that, it's all already there. It's just proven it. It is just evidence.
We all work together as part of the sort of wider shape farming network. We rely on each other's skills. For instance, when we gathered their shape down from the fell the other day, one of the neighbours come and gave us a hand, and we recruited another self-employed guy, like Tanya's a self-employed shepherd. We have another one, another lad called Adam was with us the other day helping out. So yeah, it very much depends on a collaborative activity and everybody mucking in and helping each other, yeah. Gathering's probably one of the most basic skills that we have. Saying it's basic, I don't mean it's easy, but it's one of the things that we all have to be able to do. So we rely very much on their territorial hefting instinct to keep them in the area that we want them, but we rely on the dogs' knowledge of the area that we're working in and our neighbours to actually make it all work properly. So the hefting systems that evolved were originally established around the time of the Vikings, so about 1,000 years ago probably. Those systems have slowly evolved into a very balanced grazing regime right across all these open fells of the Lake District. As long as we can maintain that balance and it's done in sympathy with the environment, these sheep are actually guardians of that landscape. These are the guys that look after it really. Within the West Lakeland CIC we're working with all the various agencies and NGOs, non-government organisations that have an interest in fell grazing. So all the stakeholders up here. And what we're trying to do is to try and impress upon some of these people who perhaps make judgments around paper-based exercises rather than actually having the genuine knowledge of how these sheep react on the fells and how the fells react to the number of sheep that are on them. We're trying to address that, shall we say, imbalance of knowledge that we have. So the agencies have obviously got stuff to offer. They're the experts with regard to ecology and this sort of thing. But I think we as farmers, all of us right across the Lake District as the sheep farmers, have probably got a greater understanding, a better understanding of how sheep respond and react to different grazing regimes. And if we feel that they're damaging the fell to the point that it's not going to be viable for the next month or two, we would take sheep off. The farmers were considering the habitat that supports them. We have no interest at all and there's no real incentive for us to destroy the very thing that we need to be able to maintain our sheep flocks. So we manage the grasslands to the best advantage of us from a commercial point of view, absolutely. But also, as a result of that, what we're doing is keeping a balanced sward out there. Ideally, there's never any point when we can't put sheep back out there because there isn't sufficient grass for them. So as well as looking after sheep, we're looking after the grass that supports them. That grass being grazed and consequently growing again because it's been grazed is actually photosynthesising and pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And that is really helping to not just sequester carbon, but also keeping carbons in the soil. So these sheep keep really tight vegetation swards, no bare soil. What we're doing is creating a perfect environment for carbon management as well. This is a healthy ecosystem, yeah, a healthy soil ecosystem. And it's actually part of our hefty sheep system. So the sheep go to the fell, it's never had any chemical intervention whatsoever, it's never had any fertiliser, it's never had any crop sprays. And they come into the fields which equally have had very little chemical input. So what we've got is a biologically rich, sensitively managed landscape supporting traditional sheep farming systems, and those sheep farming systems have actually created that balanced habitat. So we need to keep an eye on it all the time. Obviously we need to make sure that we're not damaging it, and actually developing our knowledge of those grassroots is helping us to understand better how we need to manage those landscapes, and we're trying to get that information through to policymakers, yeah. This flock here will be as old as, it probably goes back to the 1500s probably, because it was originally one of the monastic flocks. So we've got the Calder Abbey just down the road, which was a satellite abbey of St. Bees Abbey. And the monks used to come up here and manage these sheep at that time. It's interesting that the farm we're working on is called Simon Kell, and Simon Kell is, in Celtic, is Simon's Well, and it was Brother Simon. So this is where Brother Simon used to come in the summer, up to his summer bothy to share his sheep, yeah. And we've got another one just further across called Roger House, and that was where Brother Roger used to go to manage his sheep during the summer. Eh? So the monks were the original shepherds. There's a Herdwick, so very likely that some of the genetics came across with the Vikings in the 8th, 9th and 10th centuries, and have been around ever since. And the Vikings, liaising with the Celts that were already here, established the systems that were liaising. They liaised. They didn't rape and pillage in the Western Lakes. They actually settled, and they worked with the communities that were here. It's a very ancient system with a very ancient breed of sheep that still have a commercial use in today's modern farming system.
I work on different various farms that all do things totally different, and you pick up ways that some people do it and other ways how other people do it, and you incorporate it into your own system and do what's right for you. But yeah, you couldn't do it without the generation above you. It's all family farms, it's all passed down, and the knowledge is passed down, and it's nice. Yeah, you can learn it at school and you can learn it in college, but there's nothing like learning it on the farm. You've got to do it and learn it. You either love it or you don't, but it's great. I love it.
I think West Lakes is one of my favourite projects because it has been so grassroots and farmer-led, and it shows that a group of farmers coming together and talking about what they want and what they imagine is like actually achieve things. It's not been replicated in many other areas. Well, actually, I don't think it's been replicated anywhere, that these farmers are on the ground, they know their farm best, and they're working with nature to get the best outcomes possible across the board, whether that's for nature, environment, climate, alongside food production and protecting these traditional systems that we all know and love.
What we're trying to do is maintain a system that we know works, that has a commercial element to it, but at the same time delivers quite a lot for the environment in the process. Yeah? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What we're trying to do is keep the wheel moving.